Record, and recording is starting. Okay, well, welcome everybody. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you back to Transfer Talk Tuesdays. So it's actually been over a year since our team has hosted a Transfer Talk, so we're really excited to be.
I just got it. Oh, I just thought this way we could all hear it.
Becky, can you mute your microphone? I just heard that comment. Yeah, sorry. Thanks. Alrighty, well, welcome. We're excited to be bringing Transfer Talks back to you. So the topic of this Transfer Talk is the CTAV process and awarding CTAV credit. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Perot, and I'm a Senior Associate Director on our Career Technical team here at the Ohio Articulation and Transfer Network at ODHE. It is my privilege to serve as the facilitator for this Transfer Talk today. So on the next slide, Stevie, we can say, oh, yep, just a reminder that this is being recorded and it will be posted to our website. And then on the next slide, yes. So welcome back. So the purpose and format of today's talk. So the CTAV process and the process of awarding CTAV credit in general is still an area that we know a lot of schools have questions with, just that there are some challenges and issues that some schools are facing. And so we decided it would be a good idea to bring some different institutions together to talk about some of the things that they're doing, talk about some of the things that they're still struggling with, but then also create an opportunity to for all of you to sort of discuss some of the questions that you may have, some of the issues that you may be facing with, talk about some of the success strategies that you've implemented at your institution, just so that we can all benefit from what everybody is doing at the different institutions. So in our session today, we're going to have three sets of panelists who are going to represent. So we have Sun and Emily from Lorain County Community College, Misty and Matt from Kent State University, and lastly, Gretchen and Rita from Cincinnati State Technical and Community College. So each of them is going to have 8 to 10 minutes to talk about some of the things that they're doing, some of the issues that they're still struggling with. And then at the end, we're going to have time for discussion and questions. So I invite you to hold some of your questions to the end, but you're also welcome to drop some questions during the chat if you don't want to forget them. And Stevie and I will be monitoring the chat throughout, and we can try to make sure that we address those at the end as we have time. And the final thing before we get to our panelists is that part of the reason we're doing this particular topic right now is that the summer of CTAV is about to begin. So on the next slide, Stevie, I'm pleased to announce, which many of you have probably already heard because Nikki and I have shared updates about this, is that the CTAV timeline for this year has been updated. In past years, as you probably recall, it wasn't typically until June, maybe even July, that the colleges and universities got the first set of student data. But I am pleased to let all of you know, if you haven't heard already, that thanks to a joint effort from our team at ODHE, our colleagues at ODE, and our colleagues at CEAT, which is the testing vendor that runs the web exams. As a result, we've made it possible that student data are going to be available significantly earlier starting this year. So actually yesterday was the date that the preliminary web exam scores first became available to the high school districts. Typically that didn't happen until June in previous years. So those test scores are going to be available. Now the secondary districts are able to go through, validate the scores, verify that all the information is correct, report those data to ODE, and then they share that data with us and we make it available to you. So long story short, we're hoping that the first set of student data will be available to the colleges and universities starting at the end of this month. So toward the end of May, possibly early June, we expect those data to be available, which is a month and a half earlier than it typically had been in past years. So I see some clapping, some reactions. So this is good news for all of you. So stay tuned. I will be in touch as soon as those data are available. But okay, so this is why we're doing this topic today. But without further ado, I want to turn it over to our first set of panelists. So I'm going to call on our representatives from Lorain County Community College. So Sun and Emily, if you want to put your cameras on and unmute yourselves.
Hi, my name is Emily Coffey. I am the Access Team Lead in our Registrar's Office and our Transcript Evaluator. For the CTAG process, basically I'm the one who runs the CTAV report, and I process the paperwork to make sure that students receive the credit that they have earned.
All right, thanks, Emily. And Sun, if you want to take a minute to introduce yourself and say what your role is with the CTAV and CTAG process.
Hi, Sun Jamerson, registrar at Lorraine County Community College. And as far as the CTAG and CTAV, and I oversee the process works across the areas that's involved with the CTAV process. So can I go right into the?
Yeah, so I just wanted to, ask if you two could say sort of which challenges did your team encounter with the CTAV process when it was first rolled out a few years ago, and what strategies have you used to sort of help things or improve the workflow at your institution? Yeah.
So the timeline, I am so glad to hear that the timeline is changing. That is a great news. So my first comment about the biggest challenge that we had was the timeline issues. So I'm not gonna, I'm sure everybody had the same timeline issues, so I'm not going to dwell on that specific topic. But we also had the SSID to identify LCC ID. And that was a little more work than we anticipated initially. And then as we worked on every time, we created process along with our functional analyst. So Emily, functional analyst, and our IR office actually created process. So every time we have to run the CTAB process, there are a sequence of events that happens so that we end up with a final report that has all the information we need for our process. And then there was a confusion between CTAV and CTAG credit. I'm sure other institutions have run into similar issues. And for us, especially as being a community college, we have many students from, they're the adult learners who go through the JVS or any other career technical training. They come with CTAG credit rather than CTAV credit that we can get information with the most recent high school grads. And then also the biggest problem that we ran into was the staff turnover. So we had Nora Burkholder, who was part of the initial CTAV process and worked through all the processes. She retired. So Emily came on board last year, and I am so lucky that she came on board and picked up very quickly, but there was some struggles that we had to work through in order for us to really truly understand and make sure it worked. And so there were some that we decided we needed a more thorough explanation of what each step needed and who received what communication in order for this process to work, and then who worked what, and after that, and then, so forth. Just like with involving functional analyst to IR and then getting it back, and then functional analysts had to massage the data so that we could actually use it in our end. And then from there, I'm gonna leave it to Emily to go through some of the next points.
Yeah, actually, could I just interject real fast? I wanted to confirm what you had said earlier, Sun. When you were talking about CTAV credit versus CTAG credit, are you referring explicitly to the CTAG courses that don't use CTAV process to verify the credit? You mean the ones that still require the verification form? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a common point of confusion for many people, understandably. But I found that if people understand sort of the method behind the madness, the reasoning for why those don't fall under CTAV, that it can help. So all of the ones that still require the verification forms are the ones where the student's eligibility is tied to them having earned a particular credential or it's not tied to a web exam essentially, because that web exam score, that's the piece that we need for something to be part of CTAV. So once students or staff or faculty understand that, that can sort of help sort of make that distinction clear. But yeah, but thank you for raising that, because that's an excellent point. Yep. And Emily, yep. So I may ask, so it takes a village to get a student CTAC credit, as I like to say. So a lot of times this requires collaboration between different stakeholders. So what are some of the things that your institution is doing to sort of bring some of those different stakeholders together and keep everybody in the loop?
Yeah, so I think that we're really lucky to have a great relationship and good communication with our, between the registrar's office and our tech prep office. We really work hard to be on the same page and we work well together. I would say one of the examples of the things that I think we started last year is that our tech prep office created a list in Teams of the newly graduating seniors that are planning to come to LC. This list helped me a lot to really prioritize these students. So when I get the CTAV report already and I have the whole list of students, being able to pick out the ones that are coming here immediately, straight out of high school, to post those credits first is really beneficial. And I think it helps the students a lot. It helps the advisors a lot. So they're not potentially taking a class here that they're already getting credit for. And I think just another thing to add, like with that communication, like me and Son's offices are right next to each other, but our tech prep office is like all across campus. So me and Son are able to touch base a lot, I would say easier. But I think just to keep in mind for all the other schools that may have a similar situation, like it's also very important to keep in touch with the offices that maybe are not so close to you, just to keep that communication flowing.
And also, we do have, I believe, David and Deanna is on the call with us today, I believe. And they do most of all the communication with the students directly. And they do a lot of work, the legwork, to get the students' information to us. And also, when we didn't have yes or no indication to post credits in the CTAV report, they were the one who actually got us all the yeses, the forms assigned and got to us, so that we were able to process without us having to send information out and wait for students' response. That at the beginning, virtually that's what it was, just wait for someone to respond, but of course they don't pay attention. And so then they just call, hey, where's my credit? Well, we haven't gotten the signed form yet. And so that made it very easier for us by working with them and getting the forms signed up front.
Yep. And you mentioned that sort of connection to the students then, and this is my final question for you. So what other strategies have you found to sort of reach out to students to sort of help navigate them through this process, or even let them know like, hey, you actually qualify for credit? Like, are there any other outreach strategies that you've been employing?
Deanna or David, do you want to jump in? You guys are the experts.
Sure, I can actually mention something. During the month of February, I schedule what I call the senior next steps visits with all of the career tech centers. So thankfully, our career tech centers allow me to come in and present to the seniors, the graduating seniors. So I do a quick, maybe 15-20 minute presentation about the next steps if they're interested in the articulation agreements and securing those bilateral credits, or securing the CTAG credits, and I cover those steps as well. So after that, I do mention to them, the CTAV process and when we expect to see those credits come in from the state, and then they, giving them a timeline as well, so they understand the process as well. And then, like Sun mentioned, I have a list of all those seniors, because we do the written permission form as well, and they indicate on there whether they're interested in coming to LC. So I have that list, and I build that list along with the student group codes that we assign in our PeopleSoft system, and then that list is generated and put in Teams so that Emily can see that week to week.
Wonderful. That sounds excellent. It sounds like some really great things are happening at Lorraine. So thank you, all three of you, for sharing. And now it's time to move on to our second set of presenters from Kent State. So Misty and Matt, if you want to take a moment to introduce yourselves and just explain your roles and your interaction with the CTAV process and CTAG credit in general.
Hi, so I'm Misty. Misty Summers from Kent State University. I work in the credit transfer office. And Matt Cola is on the line with us as well from the tech prep office. So basically, just going over the same things, you know, like challenges, successes, etc. As far as Kent State goes, I think one of our biggest challenges really is just the data manipulation itself. The data manipulation, it's just a matter of like getting all of the pieces and parts together and getting everything to work together. I think a lot of us all have that issue, just trying to get everything from the state and get it matched up to everything in our records. So of course, SSIDs, which are a big struggle, making sure those are on the record. Who already got credit, because every time we try to get that CTAV file as often as possible because people are still getting admitted throughout the year. So we try to make sure that, you know, we're excluding out all those students that we already gave credit to make sure that we're not double touching students, and making sure, you know, which CTAGs are actually getting credits. Did students get admitted at the last minute? So do we need to run, you know, pull a last minute CTAV file to make sure nobody got missed? Are there any duplicate exam scores on the CTAV file? Just communicating students who pass the web exams but aren't eligible for a CTAG course because maybe we don't have an alignment, making sure those get communicated on down the road to our tech prep office, and making sure that we're filling in those gaps, you know, because there are so many ways for students to earn credit, not just based off of that one approved course, you know, that maybe did or did not get approved through that year. So our biggest strategy for success, obviously, is just communication. Even communication on the student application. As soon as they apply for admission, we have a question on the application right from the start, asking them if they have any kind of CTE credits or any kind of career tech credit. That way we can start the communication with them immediately and get that fresh in their head and make sure that students aren't forgetting about that, maybe just making sure they're aware to even bring that up with their advisor when they talk with them. So collaboration is really our biggest, I feel like Kent State's biggest success, because we include our admissions office, the credit transfer office, which is me in the registrar, our tech prep office, which is Matt Cola, and the degree pathways. So that way we're making sure that, you know, and even our advising office, just making sure that we're communicating across the board and that we have regular joint meetings with those offices. We actually have like a little, we have a biweekly meeting with all of those offices that is specifically about these type of credits. You know, anything that involves CTAG, career tech, tech prep, even, you know, like the topic of CCP stuff. So anything that might involve those incoming freshmen, we have biweekly meetings to talk about it. Sometimes we don't have anything to talk about. We just check in and we say, hey, how's it going? Awesome. You know, what'd you do this weekend? But still, even in the midst of us talking, sometimes we won't have anything on our agenda, but we'll say, you know what, that reminds me, you know, there's this one student that emailed me. Did you get that email? Oh no, I forgot to follow up on that, you know, just to make sure that we're all checking in with each other and communicating with each other, because sometimes something comes up when you discuss it out loud that you don't think about, and you don't want to wait until it's CTAV report time to talk about that. Sometimes it's better off to have those conversations on a, you know, regular basis, because you might think about something and it triggers an idea and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do that, so that way next time we run the file, you know, we might grab this or think of a new report that might be available that we didn't think of before. So yeah, you know, just that communication piece is just so critical for us. And then taking that communication and turning it into outreach. So advising meetings with students are so important. That's where students are made aware of all of those things that they didn't think about before. So Kent State actually discusses CTAG and Tech Prep credits in our orientation advisor training every year. So every year before we start that summer orientation with our incoming students, advisors go through like a 2-day to couple that, I think more than 2 days, but training to remind them and just touch base with them on all the things they need to talk about with orientation in their students that summer. And there's a section on CTAG and Tech Prep credits to make sure that reminding advisors of that stuff and addressing any of those questions before orientation starts. And something that literally happened in this last week was our office came up with the idea of just sending out cute little short, did you know, emails to our advisor listserv. So we just kind of started trying that on a trial basis. And we started out with one that was like for military students, did you know? And put a couple of bullet points of things that we thought most of our advisors knew, but sometimes you have new advisors and they're that experience and it's not talked about because there are things that don't come up on a daily basis. And so CTAG and Tech Prep credits are going to be one of our did you know emails on the listserv this summer, right before we run that CTAV file. So that way, hopefully it'll be fresh in their minds right before that conversation comes up with those students. So.
Wonderful.
So,
Anything else to add about any? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll let Matt go ahead and talk about like on his things, you know, when we have throughs from the CTAG file. So
Yeah,
Matt,
wonderful. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, going on to, we're going to continue on the communication thread because I do think that's what Kent does best with our students. Since I've started in the position of Tech Prep coordinator about a year ago, I have tried to be as innovative as possible and meet students where they're at whenever possible. So what that's looked like is going out to the schools, much like David said from Lorraine, talking to them about their Tech Prep and their CTAG opportunities. But then this semester, we started in my office a virtual webinar series after hours for students and their families. Here's a link to the one that focused on CTAG, but it wasn't just CTAG. We talked about CTAG, we talked about bilateral, we touched on AP, IB, all of that. If anyone is interested, if anyone watches this and is interested in replicating it, I'm happy to send you the PowerPoint that we used and recorded if you send me an email. The other thing that we recently did was kind of a last line of defense for Misty and her office. So, you know, they'll send emails out to students who either didn't click yes or clicked no on the CTAV file. What we just did was we are updating all of our bilateral credit forms. So I don't know if you all can see this. Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so I added this little line right here that says, if you are eligible for CTAG credit, do you give Kent State permission to post this credit? All they have to do is check yes. And that will be on every CTAG or every bilateral agreement that we have moving forward. It's just a simple way for the office to catch people we may have missed so that Misty's office has to do a little bit less work when it comes time to send out those emails.
Wonderful. Well, excellent. It sounds like great things are happening at Kent State. So Misty and Matt, thank you both for your time. And last but not least, I'm going to turn it over to Rita and Gretchen from Cincinnati State. So Rita, Gretchen, do you want to introduce yourselves and then talk about some of the great things that you're doing?
I'll go ahead and introduce myself first. Thanks, Ben. I'm Rita Graff with Southwest Tech Prep. I'm the Chief Administrator for the Southwest region, and then I'll let Gretchen.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I'm Gretchen Cook, and I'm the Career Tech Pathways Manager at Cincinnati State. And I think the first question is about our challenges, right, Ben? You want me to jump right into that? So just a little bit about my role. I'm supported by our Perkins funds. So we have done a little transitioning of our role with how we use our Perkins funding here at Cincinnati State. So we have a designated person, which is me, that oversees the development and the implementation of our processes with regard to our career tech students. And Rita's going to talk a little bit more about that collaboration next. But part of the, unlike the other presenters, I don't work in the registrar's office. I don't work in admissions. I'm not an advisor. I'm not in academics. But I get to collaborate with all of those offices. And so one of the things that is so important that you keep hearing today is making sure the right people are at the table and having the conversation repeatedly. So some of the challenges that our CTAV committee has run across, one, in regards to my work, is really identifying career tech students at the front door. We have relationships with our career centers. We have collaboration with our admissions office, but it's really just trying to identify those students and making sure that we have better communication with them on what's available to them, what opportunities are available to them. One of the things we started in the fall of 2021 is asking the students on the application for admission to self-identify as a career tech student. And we've had some success with that. I've loved hearing everyone present today. I've made lots of notes. I've been texting Rita the whole time with ideas since hearing you. So this has been great. But we've had some success from that, but we needed to start somewhere. And so we're really looking for ways to improve that. One of the challenges we have with that is not all the students identify themselves as career tech students. They don't know that terminology. They don't see themselves that way. They know they take these classes, especially those students that are taking these courses within their associate schools and not physically at a career center. They definitely are not certain if they're a career tech student or not. So we know that we're missing students. Especially from our largest feeder, which is Cincinnati Public Schools, and it's a community school, and their system is quite different than some of the other career center areas that we support. So we're always looking for ways to improve that. So that's one. But with regard to awarding the CTAG credit, we really had to work internally about what is our current process, what's working, what's not working, who's on first, who's doing what, when's it coming, who gets it. So we've really had to start from the beginning to build that process, and it's still a work in progress. But we have, I think someone mentioned this presenting earlier, we've had turnover, we have new faces. So we had to we started and then we had to restart, and so we've had a few hiccups along the way. But we have a great team that works together. And one of the issues that we've come up with that Ben's helped us kind of work through is the awarding of credit for a course when there's not an equivalent course on the CTAV report. So that's another internal process that we're currently working to resolve and kind of streamline so that can be more efficient of having our faculty evaluate those courses and have those related courses available so that it's faster for our registrar's office to award those credits. So I would say that's one of the bigger challenges that we're working through currently at the moment with regard to the CTAV report. And Rita, I think the next question is about our collaboration and that work, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Ben, you want me to just go ahead? I can do that.
Yeah, please.
One of the things that we've done, and my predecessor, I can't take all credit for this because Terry Benedict was the chief administrator before I came in, and she had a vision to where the Perkins grant would align with the Tech Prep grant, and our deliverables really go hand in hand. So if you have a Perkins grant at your college, I would totally recommend working with them because her vision kind of started the pathway, and they kind of wrote that Perkins grant, and we still do, right? We're in the process right now of writing another RFP for the Tech Prep grant, which is up every 2 years. We're going to connect with our Perkins. They write their grants next year. So we really have worked together to make that collaboration. And in the process, that's where Gretchen came in. When I came on board as the chief administrator, I was actually in the hiring process to hire a person for this pathway manager. This pathway manager, Gretchen, it's been phenomenal. It's been a great asset to both parties involved because we collaborate. As a Tech Prep region, we meet in front of our career centers on a monthly basis. We have what we call career tech CT council meetings. So we include Gretchen in part of those CT council meetings. So not only do we get to hear what's going on and any headaches that they're seeing on the secondary side, but we also get to see, we can communicate with our post-secondary side and say, hey guys, look, this is what we're facing on this side. Here's what's kind of happening on the post-secondary side. So I felt like that collaboration has played a huge role in what we're doing. Gretchen and I have also got opportunities to where we can get in front of advisors in those advising groups and kind of just before we have, before a semester, get in front of them and say, hey, here's something that we want to put on your plate. And as I think everybody has mentioned, is education, education, education. We have gone through the pathway. We try to educate our faculty. A lot of people really need to know and be aware of more of those CTAG opportunities, the bilateral agreements. The other thing that we've kind of done with our group is we've made a lot of the bilateral agreements regional wide. So if you're teaching this course, and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but if you're teaching a certain course and we have 6 career centers, it's the same all through all 6 career centers. So you have one document with multiple signatures versus 100 different documents. So that's something that we feel like. So really, I think that recognizing the strengths of the 2 grants has made it a little easier for us to be able to communicate and kind of release some of that frustration, because I know I feel like I'm the coordinator here. We've had questions internally and we've brought together, like you said, you mentioned the institutional research, our registrar, everybody that's involved in that CTAV process. And Ben has been great in scheduling. We've done it twice, scheduling meetings, and Ryan Curtis at the state, High Department of Education. We just had an informal meeting, asked the questions that need to be asked, and he answered those questions. And I felt like everybody was in the room at the same time. And I love what one of you guys have mentioned, that you meet on a regular basis. I think that's a great idea. And that's something that maybe me and Gretchen might take from this meeting and move forward. But the collaboration has just been a very positive aspect of our CTAV. And again, because of what me and Gretchen are doing, the college has asked me and Gretchen to be part of that CTAV committee. And we work with Kim McMillan, which is over all the CTAG. So it's that communication that's made it a lot easier here for us at Cincinnati State. So the next question, I think, Gretchen,
about outreach, for student outreach. Yeah.
Sure. So the other part of my role is really working with our external stakeholders. And so how do we educate our students and prospective students coming in the door? And similar to what Matt was saying earlier, and the others from Lorraine, it's really about getting in front of those students early. And so we have, again, because of the exposure that I've been able to enjoy through the connection with Rita and the CT Council, I have positive relationships with our regional centers, and they're very welcoming. And I collaborate with our Office of Admission to do a lot of visits. I also do collaboration with our CCP. So I do presentations with our College Credit Plus so that we can really present on all credit opportunities that are available to students. So there's lots of different angles that we use to try to get in front of students repeatedly. We want to see them more than just their senior year, right? As early as possible and as frequently as possible. So different ways to meet with students that way. We also host a lot of on-campus visits. So again, with that connection with our Office of Admission, they know my role and what I do. And so if there's a school that comes, an associate school or a career center that reaches out to me, they reach out to me right away and ask me to be a part of that visit. And I do presentations to students on the awarding process of CTAG and the differences between the credit. And we try to keep it fun and light and high level, because it's a lot, but really it's just about teaching the student or educating the student to self-advocate. And there's a lot of need for the student to know that they're a career tech student, to come in talking about it, to say, is this credit available to me? And so that's what we talk about when we do that. This summer, similar to what Rita said, we've done trainings for our Office of Admission, for internally here at Cincinnati State, for our Office of Admission and for our advisors. We even did a common time, which is for academics, and where we present on CTAG, bilateral agreements, our roles, and how we can help the college and how we can help your program. And that's garnered a lot of positive feedback. So I also work with our ITAGs on the ITAG committee here at Cincinnati State, and there's a lot of crossover and similarities between the awarding of ITAGs and CTAGs. And so we're going to do this summer what we're calling a transfer in boot camp. At community college, a lot of times when you talk about transfer, you automatically think about students transferring on, right? Because we do encourage students to continue their education at a four-year college or university, but we really want to program our internal staff and faculty to think about transferring in credits and all those credit opportunities. And so to make our college community more aware of all the initiatives that are available to students through the state, we're having this transfer in boot camp, which will include, again, a review of CTAGs and bilaterals, but also this kind of introduction of ITAGs, from everything to what kind of language we should use when we're talking to students and asking questions as they come through the door, because, they're not going to come in saying, I think I qualify for an ITAG, or I think I qualify for a CTAG. So that kind of thing, to making sure that they understand the actual process for awarding the credits internally here. So that's coming this summer. So we'll be excited to share how that goes in a future update. So
wonderful. Excellent. Well, thank you, Gretchen. Thank you, Rita. Thank you to all of our presenters. So now we've come to the time for discussion. And so with a group this large, I'm hesitant to just sort of open the floor. So feel free to put questions in the chat, and Steve and I can monitor them, or if somebody wants to use the raise their hand feature. So anything essentially is fair game. So if any of you have follow-up questions to the presenters, feel free to ask those. If any of you would like to share any of the things that you're doing, we would love to hear those, especially if you have suggestions for some of the issues that were noted by any of our presenters. We would love to hear those too. My colleagues are here to answer some policy questions. Also, our colleagues from ODE, a couple of them are available too. So I will open it up for questions. We have about 10 minutes or so. So this was scheduled until 1:45, but I think typically we go a few minutes over, but
I have a question.
please. Yep.
Yeah. I'd be really interested in hearing how, especially for all the registrar people in the audience, how are you actually coding? These are coding questions. Hope that's okay, Ben. How are you coding the actual credit for your CTAG? Are they in your bilaterals and your ITAGs? Are they all under one type of code? Are they different codes? Just curious about how people are coding.
I just want to clarify, when you say coding, do you mean coding when they report the credit back to the state?
I mean how they're putting that on the transcript, like transcript of credit.
Gotcha.
How are you awarding the credit? Sorry, how are you awarding the credit?
Yep.
Hey Ben, this is Joy Livergood. Hi Gretchen.
Hi, Joy.
I do the coding project for OATN with Dave Sauter. And I think the way that coding happened is kind of dependent on the SIS that's being used. Some folks are able to indicate, for example, in colleague, particular codes that say, this is a particular type of credit, and this is another type of credit, and so forth. In some of the other cases, I can't recall the exact SIS. It's more of a manual process where someone, all the transfer credit is print out on a spreadsheet, kind of all the stuff that comes from, a particular source is designated. So there's a lot of factors that kind of play into that.
So for LCC, we have PeopleSoft, and we do indicate specifically if it is a CTAV process that created this credit or versus a CTAG. So like Joy said, we have a specific codes that has to go in, and that is IR driven. So the IR, they have to report this at the end. And so we have a designated specific codes that belongs to all this, ITAG, for example. And so any credits that's given and specific to statewide agreed upon codes that we have to put in, and we do indicate them. And that goes into IR reports. And also if we send current ATC XML transcript, that also indicates on a specific section of XML transcript that explains this specific.
Thank you.
And Gretchen, you just got a response in the chat too from Sarah Miller. Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Any other questions, or does anybody have any success strategies that they want to share about things that they're doing, either outreach strategies or just ways to sort of help improve the CTAV workflow at your particular institution? Or do any of my ODE colleagues have any updates that they want to share?
I'm just happy to report that everything so far we've promised on advancing the timeline and making the process quicker. I was just able to transfer to you, Ben, and Nikki, the student acknowledgement file for the initial CTSA files that hopefully we'll start seeing assessments come in. So ITC's received the file today to upload into the SIS for each of the districts. And so districts, as of this afternoon, can be reporting assessments. So now it's kind of into the wheelhouse of each individual school district to push those assessments into our EMIS database, and then for us to be able to start processing those in the next week or so. So things so far are moving, but let's hope we can keep the chain on the bicycle and keep it good and oiled up.
Excellent. Thanks, Ryan. It looks like Sun's got a hand up. Sun, did you have a question or a follow-up comment?
Okay, that was me trying to figure out how to clap rather than. Sorry.
Gotcha. Yeah, they put the hand right next to the other menu, so it looks like, yeah, no worries, no worries.
Ben, did you see Caleb's question in the
I just saw, yeah. So Caleb, thank you for the question. So actually this brings us, I guess, to our closing announcement, if nobody has any other questions or comments. So Stevie, actually, if you want to pull up the PowerPoint slide. So our next Transfer Talk Tuesday is going to be hosted on Tuesday, July 11th. And the topic is going to be website tools to support OETN initiatives. So we're going to essentially take you on a tour of our website to show some of the new features that we've rolled out, or just some of the existing tools, and how we're using them, or how you can use them to sort of track the different transfer initiatives that are going on, the coding initiative, all the different things that our team is doing. So just so that you can sort of get the lay of the land of our website. So we hope that you'll join us. We'll send out the email announcements for those. You can also track our transfer talks on our Transfer Talk website. If one of my colleagues wants to share the link in the chat, that would be great. But otherwise, stay tuned. We hope to see you in July. So I thank you for your attendance and your participation today. Thank you again very much to our presenters. I appreciate your time and effort. And for all of you, I appreciate all of the things that you're doing to support the students of Ohio. So stay tuned. You will all be receiving updates from me throughout the summer every time that there's a new CTAV data file that's out and ready, available. So please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to meet with you. As Gretchen said, Ryan and I met with their team multiple times, or actually I think it was Rita who said that, but thank you for your attendance today. If you have any last minute questions, I'll stay on for a couple of minutes just in case you want to ask them right now, but thank you again for everything you're doing, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Hey, Ben.
Yes.
Sorry, let me put my